This is Hamilton, a city of over 250,000 Canadians, a community which nestles in the shadow of the Niagara Escarpment, circling the landlocked waters of Burlington Bay on the western end of Lake Ontario. It's an ambitious city, a bustling community, famous for its natural beauty as well as its industry and its thriving harbor, where hospitable people put their best foot forward when strangers come calling. Welcome, Stranger is a portrait of Hamilton's colorful scenic setting and its pleasant way of life. La Salle, adventurous French explorer of the Great Lakes, was the first white visitor to the site of Hamilton, landing on the north shore of Burlington Bay almost 3 centuries ago. The first white person to set eyes on the wilderness, which was to become Hamilton. Since La Salle's discovery, thousands of sightseers have followed in his wake. Nowadays, these folk go exploring for the vacation playground of Ontario. Hundreds of times every week during the summer months, visitors from all over the North American continent roll up to the civic information booth on the outskirts of the city to find out what to see and do in Hamilton. Like this family, for example, whom we call the Visitors, a typical family on a holiday trip or a weekend visit to Hamilton. Yes, Dad and the girls are curious about the pleasures in store for them. So Dad asks, quite frankly, what is there to see and do for a day or two? Lots, says the guide. I'll show you on our map. And show them he does as he explains the points of interest and how to plan their visit. Sounds good to me, exclaims Mr. Visitor. You've got yourself some guests. Everyone agrees, and so begins a 2-day visit, which starts right here at the nearby Royal Botanical Rock Gardens, one of Hamilton's show places. Situated in the crater of an old abandoned quarry, this famous rock garden is at the height of its midsummer beauty, with great masses of petunias, wild roses, tiger lilies, and flowering shrubs. Here, thousands of annuals and perennials have been transplanted in the craggy ground to create garden beds in a rockery of unsurpassed beauty, a must on the program of summer visitors. In this solitude, the city seems miles away. Only flowers and foliage bloom on the circular horizon of the old quarry. Each year, the rock garden takes on added beauty as many new species of bulbs, plants, and flowers burst anew each spring. Yes, the daring ledges and craggy retreats are just what the youngsters ordered, like tripping across this rock bridge. But that's not for Mother. In these gay, colorful gardens, Mr. and Mrs. Visitor and the children stroll happily along the rock-hewn paths. Until time out for pictures to recall the pleasant, unforgettable scenic beauty of the rock garden. And then on to Dundurn Castle, a famous old Hamilton landmark, standing like a sentinel of the past upon Burlington Heights. Dundurn, which means fort on the water, was built in 1835 by Sir Allan MacNab. This stately building retains much of its original beauty amid the ghost-like splendor left by its first inhabitants. In the museum, hundreds of relics of Hamilton's past, portraits and antiques, relive the storied past of Hamilton. Mr. and Mrs. Visitor pause here to marvel at the delicate craftsmanship of this Louis XIV clock, which graces the buffet in the magnificent paneled dining room of the castle. As our visitors wander through the castle, the children discover one of the museum's believe it or not oddities, the two-headed calf. This freak is a delight to all youngsters. With childish awe and wonderment, the young folk marvel at the mystery of the calf with two heads. And then, from the old to the new, as they stop to admire these soapstone figures, hand-carved by Eskimo patients at the Hamilton Sanatorium. Mrs. Visitor prevails on Father to buy this Eskimo carved figure as a memento of their Dundurn Castle visit. The guidebook, of course, suggests a tour of the Sunken Gardens, a delightful botanical entrance to the McMaster University campus, another project of the Royal Botanical Gardens, a 1,900-acre parkland in the city's west end. The weeping willows and the flowering shrubbery, combined with the rich hues of the canna beds, lead to a sunken pool. Where the ivory-hued water lilies bloom amid a cradle of green vines. And now back to our guide map and on to the next attraction, a boat trip on the Lady Hamilton. The day is still young, and there's a tang of lake breezes in the air as our visitors wait for the afternoon cruise to begin. The visitors were anxious to take this sightseeing trip for a panoramic view of the city from the bay and the Burlington Canal leading out into Lake Ontario, where the new 4-lane skyway is being built, and the swirl of water as the pleasure craft streaks by the big steamer. And so it ends as the Lady Hamilton finally docks after a pleasant 2-hour cruise. Then for a stroll around the nearby Royal Hamilton Yacht Club, where the lake sailors spend happy summer days aboard their sloops, dinghies, and cruisers. Cowboys in Hamilton? That's right, at the Bar 11 Ranch. Man, look at that one, Buck. That was a short one. Our family were fortunate to see a preview of the big annual rodeo. Mr. and Mrs. Visitor and the kids are thrilled at this show. Watch him. Can he stay on? And so this busy day ends in a blaze of unexpected excitement for our guests. Next morning, the visitors are out early, Mother and Nancy bent on doing some shopping and seeing the town, taking a shortcut through Gore Park at King and James Streets. A favorite shopping place for out-of-town visitors, especially our American tourists, are the downtown shops, featuring imported and domestic china, porcelain, woolens, and other fine displays. Modern shops like this one, where beautiful figurines, tableware, and metal ornaments, with that take-me-with-you look about them, excite their curiosity. Mother finally settles for a vase as a souvenir for grandmother, but she may be back for more gifts like these. From downtown, Mother and Nancy visit the Center, Canada's largest shopping plaza, where more than 60 retail stores and services provide excellent shopping. Mother and Nancy make the rounds, stopping in the mall to look at the fountain and to catch their breath. On the way back to the hotel, Mother and Nancy remember the tourist guide's advice to be sure to see the farmers' market behind the city hall. It's a typical market day with thousands of Hamiltonians crowding around the farmers' stands, shopping for the garden-fresh provisions for the family table. To the market, with their appetizing glow, come truckloads of fruit, vegetables, flowers, and other produce from Wentworth County and the nearby fruitlands of Niagara. Although she's a long way from home, Mother has a purchase to make for the picnic lunch at Webster's Falls. The hotel made up a basket lunch, but these cherries will add to the picnic pleasure. Meanwhile, Dad and Janice are off on their own to watch the Hamilton Tiger Cats in their early season training. Every fall, the football fever takes over in Hamilton. This exciting fall sport attracts 20,000 fans to the Tiger Cats games at the Civic Stadium. The colorful pageantry of the masked bands, the whirling batons of the drum majorettes, and the game itself. Football is one of Hamilton's great sports spectacles, and all Tigertown lets loose when the team takes to the field. It's a grueling game, this Canadian version. Elbows fly, bodies spill, and the cleated feet dig and spurt across the turf. Yes, this is a game which typifies the city's great sports tradition, a tradition Hamilton is justly proud of, in track and field, hockey, lacrosse, baseball, aquatics, and many other sports. It's a city which enjoys its sports and recreation to the full. At Webster's Falls, a pleasant little park at the brink of a beautiful waterfall in suburban Hamilton, the family set out the table for lunch. Needless to say, the whole family's ready to eat and anxious to dig in. Mom and Dad unpack the lunch as Nancy and Janice eye the sandwiches and drinks with hungry glances. It's a delightful day for a quiet picnic with lots of fun in store for the youngsters. While the children wade in the stream above the falls, Mom and Dad romance a bit on the old stone bridge and watch the fleecy clouds overhead. Leaving the natural beauty of the landscape at Webster's Falls, our couple visits the Hamilton Art Gallery. This gallery is one of Hamilton's newer cultural centers, where many old masters and fine examples of contemporary Canadian art are exhibited with modest local pride. Here, the paintings enthuse our visitors, such as this beautiful canvas by Maurice Cullen, RCA, entitled Cape Diamond. Assisted by many of the city's art-loving patrons, the art exhibitions at the gallery increase in prestige and artistic reputation each season. Mr. and Mrs. Visitor pause here to admire a portrait by Lillian T. Newton, RCA. And so the two-day visit ends as the family drives up the mountain for a farewell glimpse of the city. And then it's goodbye. As Mr. and Mrs. Visitor agree, it's been fun here. We'll come again another year.